Hey, I'm Jisoo, and today we're going to talk about shields in God of War Ragnarok. Whenever you are venturing into the 9 realms, it's very important to be protected, to have the best possible protection out there because you're going to need it, especially depending on the kind of difficulty you're playing at. And this time around we're very lucky because we have 5 different shields to choose from. So we're going to see what those shields actually are and how to make the most out of them, because some are very good and I'll say some are questionable. So don't forget to drop a like if you like this kind of content and you want to encourage the channel, and subscribe if you want to see more. Let's go. So we're going to start with the Stonewall Shield, which in my opinion is the best shield for beginners, especially if you play on the Give Me God of War difficulty, because this time around enemies are relentless. They don't give you a break and they can attack you 16 times in a second without giving you the opportunity to retaliate. Sometimes I wanted to throw my controller, but I only have one, so maybe if I get another one, I will be able to throw that. Long story short, this is a very good shield because it allows you to store damage without you having to do anything. Let me explain. This shield comes with 4 different bars, and they're going to be filled the more enemies hit you. But first, let's talk about the 3 different kind of attacks you have in the game. You have the regular attacks. Those ones are just simple, and just blocking without doing anything is going to be, you're going to be able to avoid getting hit with just your shield up. Then you have those yellow attacks which you have to parry, otherwise the enemy is going to hit you and going to open you up, and then you're going to get hit by the follow-up attack. Then you have those red attacks which you have to evade since they are unblockables. So the way this shield works is for every single regular attack is going to count toward filling your bar with 1 bar, 1 level. So simple attacks, 1 level. Yellow attacks, 2 levels. But here's the catch. Normally you have to parry those yellow attacks, but with this shield you can tank 2, which are going to fill your shield all the way up to 4 levels, which you can then release without you having to do anything, which is great. That's why I said that this is a great shield for beginners, because it can be very forgiving when you miss those parries. But be very careful, because if you reach the limit of the damage stored, I mean if you have 4 bars, the next yellow attack is going to open you up if you don't perfectly parry it. So, oh, by the way, you definitely want to release the stored damage every time you have every single time you have 4 bars. Is going to create that gigantic shockwave, and you want to wait to actually have 4 bars, because if you don't, chances are you're not going to be able to stun enemies when you release that shockwave. So the more bars, the more levels, the better, and you can actually deal way more damage. But here's the thing, you always want to, I'll say, increase the damage and decrease the damage, because you don't want to forget that you have 4 bars and then try to tank a yellow attack. But again, I feel like this shield is great overall, other than the fact that it doesn't offer you any opportunity to counter ranged attack. It's just going to be stored, which is unfortunate, because I feel like you want balance. You want to be able to be very good when it comes to, like, enemies are very close to you, and also be able to retaliate when they are very far. But this shield is only about, I'll say, proximity, whenever enemy are very close to you, and especially when you are under pressure. That's why I said that it's very good when you're starting the game where you don't know what's happening and you don't want to get destroyed. So Stonewall Shield is it's a really good one. I really like it. And now let's talk about the Guardian Shield, which is the shield Kratos used in all the God of War games. It's here and it works the same way as before. It offers a balanced experience. You'll be able to deal with enemies up close and personal, and also enemies attacking you from afar with ranged attacks. I'll say the good thing about this shield is you have 2 ways to counter attack every time you actually perform a parry. You can, I'll say, slam the ground every time you perform a parry. If you press R2, heavy, with a heavy attack, to counter attack and slam the ground. You can also just punch enemies if you press R1, light attack, post parry. And whenever enemies are gathered, surrounding you, and you perform a parry, they can slightly be staggered, so you don't have to parry multiple people in a row. If they're very close to you, they're all going to be staggered by that parry you perform. So yeah, works just the way it used to. Pretty good. And if you're looking for the old experience without going extra with a new shield, this shield is going to be, it is the right one for you. You can never go wrong once you go with this shield in particular. In my opinion, it just works. But do you know what works even better? The Dauntless Shield, aka Daunty, aka the best shield in the game. Case closed, period. I said so. So it has to be the best shield in the game. But let me actually tell you why exactly it is the best shield in the game. So I was very skeptical about dropping my Stonewall Shield, especially because in this difficulty, you're going to be so mad, so pissed at the bullshit the enemies do. Sometimes you're going to need all the protection you can get, and the Stonewall Shield was working for me up until I'll say some encounters which were very toxic. And Daunty, the Dauntless Shield, works the same way as your Guardian Shield, but kind of better. I mentioned that whenever you want to counter-attack post-parry using the Guardian Shield, you still have to press R1 or R2. Even to throw back those projectiles, those range attacks, you still have to press a button, otherwise you're just going to perform a parry. And Daunty, whenever you perform a parry, is going to automatically, stun enemies and also automatically throw back that projectile without you having to press an extra button. And I think this is very important because, trust me, the more you play, the further you progress in the game, the more tedious and annoying enemies you're going to encounter. And you definitely want to not be bothered by having to press a button every single time you perform a parry. I think that's why this shield in particular works, because you don't have to worry about pressing an extra button, and you can even, because of that, because you don't have to press like L1, R1, L1, R1, you can perform multiple parries in a row. And this is amazing, because I can't tell you how many times you're going to be surrounded in this game, and not having to think about pressing an extra button is a welcome addition. But there are also two other things making this shield, for me at least, very good. The first one is the fact that I notice you actually have two different levels of parries while using this shield. The regular one, which is similar to the one you would have with the Guardian Shield, and is going to make your shield glow yellow. It works the same way as your Guardian Shield, right? You parry, there's going to be a shockwave, and enemies are kind of staggered. Then there's the other one, which is going to make your shield glow pinkish or reddish. And basically, it's about performing a last second, I'm talking the moment the sword of an enemy is about to connect, you perform the parry. And then the energy released, the shockwave released from that parry is going to be superior to the one dealt with a regular parry. So it's in your best interest. I think that's why they said that it was a high risk, high reward shield, because the more you wait to perform a parry, the better the stun or the stagger. And I love it, and I just again love it. And I also love it for one other reason. This shield does massive stun damage to enemies, especially post parry, but even while using the shield like a weapon, because yeah, shields are basically weapon now, so I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing runs like shield only runs. I beat God of War only using a shield. I wouldn't be surprised, because yeah, shields are weapon now, and especially when using this shield in particular, I can see it happening. I can see a build where you can max out your stun damage and then use this shield as a weapon. And again, in my opinion, I've made a lot of tests and it deals the most stun damage, even better than some weapons. So I'm talking like actual weapon like the axe or the blades. It deals a lot of stun damage, and in my opinion, all those things, the fact that you don't have to press an extra button, the counter attack is going to be performed without you having to do anything, the fact that you can be rewarded with a bigger shockwave whenever you perform a parry, and the fact that it deals significant stun damage is, in my opinion, are all those things contribute to making this shield a far better version of the Guardian Shield. Yeah, Daunty is the good. Unfortunately, that's about it when it comes to the good, because now we're going to talk about the uglies, and yeah, the two shields, the two last shields, are kind of questionable. First, we have the Shadow Star Shield, and it's going to give you more mobility. Whenever you have your shield up, you're going to move faster than when using any other shield. I think it's great because some enemies move a lot. They're moving around a lot. It's really hard to keep up because whenever you have your shield up, your speed is reduced. So having a tool which allows you to keep up with the speed while also protecting yourself is great. But why exactly do I think it's bad? Well, here's the thing. Whenever I'm choosing a shield, I'm looking at two things in particular. Am I able to deal with enemies when they're close to me? And am I also able to deal with them when they are far from me? Very important because when you are surrounded, you barely have time to aim at an enemy which is afar. So being able to throw back those projectiles is very important. And I think it is a huge miss because then all this shield does is store energy, right? And even the energy you store is the energy you actually release with your shield bash it falls short compared to all the shields, especially the Stonewall one and Dauntless. So I think personally I don't see why we use this shield. Yes, it offers you mobility, but what would you rather have? A shield which is balanced for every situation or a shield which makes you move faster? I think the choice is easily made. You're not going to go with the Shadow Star Shield because it offers very little compared to the competition. So yeah, I really tried to make it work, and I was trying to move around and see, like, yeah, you move faster, but that's about it. You can still parry. You can still parry upcoming close attack, but again, not very good. But hey, this shield has a cousin called the Onslaught Shield, and it is not very good. The Onslaught Shield is going to allow you to charge your shield by running, and whenever you are running, upcoming attacks are going to be automatically parried. Like nothing can get through your defense, which is nice because again, if you are dealing with a lot of enemies and you want to close the distance while making sure you don't get hit, this is your shield. But also that's the only thing it offers: protection while making your way to the next enemy. That's it. The more you run, the more your shield's going to be charged, and then when you release that energy, it's going to affect more people in a wider area. That's about it. It works the same way as the Shadow Star Shield, except you lose your mobility and all you have to do is charge, just run around, and that's dangerous because I feel like sometimes enemies can attack you from behind. So having to run every single time you want to charge the speed is questionable. But listen, I'm not saying that those shields are useless. I'm just saying they're not as great as the alternative. And I'm pretty sure there will be scenarios, there will be situations where the Onslaught Shield or the Shadow Star Shield are going to be relevant, are going to be very useful. What I'm saying is, when you compare those situations with the other shields, I'm pretty sure that the other shields are going to come on top when it comes to how often you're going to be using them and how often they're going to be useful for you. Because again, every time you progress further in the story, the game keeps throwing even more tedious enemies at you. Enemies which are very tricky to deal with, coming at you from every direction, sticking on walls and going behind you every opportunity they get. So I can hardly see the Onslaught Shield performing great in those situations, but I'm still going to give it a try I don't want to give up on it just yet. Maybe there's a build to make it relevant, but as far as I'm concerned, those last two shields are not great. But hey, let me know. Maybe you use them to their full potential. So I would like to know, and maybe there's something I missed in the video. Maybe there's something I didn't get right, and I would like to know. It's all about sharing. The game is out, and we don't have all the knowledge just yet. So it's important that we share information. And yeah, maybe you will be that person who convinced me that those shields are actually good. If not, well, at least we already have some good ones. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.